What's up, YouTube? What is going on? I am back again. I'm telling you, I'm on a roll, guys. I got some free time, and I am making my update videos like I should have done a couple of weeks ago. So, let me tell you, say hi to everybody. New subscribers, thank you. Existing subscribers, thank you. Everybody, you guys are making this a great channel. You're throwing a bunch of good questions at me, comments. I really appreciate them. Now let me talk to you about my 10-gallon Nano. So if you watched any of my previous videos on the 10-gallon Nano, I mentioned before, this was my experiment to try to figure out how to run a saltwater aquarium and what's going to be effective and what's not. And the reason why I did that is because just like freshwater, there is so much information about saltwater aquariums and how to keep them. And dare I say, actually, many more opinions on how to keep an aquarium. And I think the big difference here is there are a lot of people that have a lot of opinions that they believe to be fact. I recognized this early on, and I realized that the only way I was going to understand it was to actually do it with a minimal investment and to actually try out some of the things that people say just can't be done. There were just too many people out there that had differing opinions for me to really believe one particular set. So I went with what made sense to me. And guys, if you've been around my channel for a while, you know I went with what I thought would be a very close equivalent of a Wallstead aquarium, but in saltwater form. And that's exactly what I'm shooting for. I've got it. I think I know exactly what I want to do. Things change as you go, but I'm pretty sure that I have taken what I've learned from Wallstead and implemented it here as best I can, either in this form in the Nano or in the revised form in the 150. And I'll make a separate video on the 150 when it's further along around what I'm doing and how it ties back to Wallstead, because I think it's important that her principles and her ideas and her scientific facts, well proven, well documented, work equally well in saltwater. You just have to be a little creative in their application. Yeah, so let's talk about the 10-gallon for a little bit here. So, okay, 10-gallon tank. A lot of questions on how I set up the tank. So as I review it, I will note what I've got going on in this tank. Number one, I bought one piece of live rock. It is that piece of live rock right there. It's pretty porous. I don't know if it's Fiji or Marshall Island or what. Don't care. It's porous. It had purple coralline algae, which at the time I really wanted purple coralline algae, so I bought it. It cost me 12 bucks. Great investment. I bought a small piece because I wanted it to be manageable. I wanted to minimize introduction of any pest hitchhikers, right? Like aptasias, things like that, right? And I did that. I don't have any aptasias in this tank, thank God. I just got nice purple coralline algae, some feather duster worms, and copepods by the millions. All right. Now, the rest of the rock was all dead rock. I bought it from a home improvement store. It's calcium carbonate, it's limestone rock. It's typical to here in Florida. It might be harder to find or near impossible to find elsewhere in the country. But down here, the entire state floats on this stuff, basically. All right, so the state really doesn't float, but you get the idea. It's the entire bedrock of Florida, basically, is calcium carbonate limestone. It's old, million-plus-year-old dead coral. You can even see the fossils in it from the coral. So I decided to let my live rock seed my dead rock, and I think I have succeeded in doing that. I've got abundant growth on the dead rock to the point where now it's almost totally covered in coralline algae, and it's also home to several hundred smaller feather duster worms and the like. So I'm really happy with what's going on, and that'd be one thing I am doing in my 10-gallon, in my 150-gallon display tank that I'm building. I will be doing that again. The other thing I will be doing again in a different form will be the water. I started this tank with tap water, treated tap water, dechlorinated chloramine and EDTA metal binding water conditioner to take out all the metals. I started it with that. I have not changed the water in this tank ever. I only have topped off this tank with fresh water. And if you remember, for those of you who are not into salt water at all, when the water evaporates, the salt stays behind. So you actually top off your tank with fresh water, not additional salt water. So to that point, I have never changed this water. Everything that I've put in this tank has been doing, by my standards, exceptionally well. My clown has grown nicely. My Royal Grama is growing nicely. More importantly, and usually inverts are more sensitive, my coral banded shrimp is growing nicely. He molts pretty much on a regular basis, and the molt is always gone within a day or two, so everybody's eating healthy. They're getting rid of a lot of stuff. A few things that I did expect was algae growth. Now, something has to pull out the nitrates and the phosphates and whatever other organics they have going on here. There's not a whole lot of plants in the world of saltwater, in tanks anyway. I did not want to do a planted saltwater tank with macroalgae, so I have green hair algae that's growing in two spots. One on the rock, which you can see, and I'll show you a little bit better over there, and one in a dead spot that I have over here that I'm not terribly worried about, because the dead spot is because of the way I have my filter set up. It's fine for now. It's not going to be like that in the display tank, but I figured out that with proper flow, like a lot of people say, you don't have dead spots, you won't have growth of things like cyanobacteria and green hair algae. So what am I going to do about that in my display tank? Well, I'm going to do an algae turf scrubber. That'll be a conversation for a different video, but just know that I'm not getting rid of algae. True to my my Wallstead roots, I will be promoting the growth of algae in this turf scrubber to pull out all the nitrates. Again, let the plants do the work for me. Why bother with the chemical and the mechanical filtration when the plants do it just fine? So with that's the reason why I leave a lot of this algae in here. And not surprisingly, my algae growth remains in two areas, and that's it. So there's something to be said for leaving something alone if it's working, and to kind of work with nature. Okay. Now, corals are doing really well. My torch is doing really well. My Monty, which is the only SPS I'm planning on keeping, doing really well. So let's talk about how this tank is put together. All right, tap water, obviously, first choice. Not a choice I would wholly recommend. You really have to know your water. So if you're just getting into aquariums or just getting into salt water, you may want to try it, but you got to realize that for Florida, I made a conscious decision on this because we have such extremely hard water, and water varies from area to area. So if you don't have water that would really meet some of the baseline conditions in your area, don't do it. Just stick with the RODI. It's what I'm eventually going to switch to for a different set of reasons that I'll explain later. But I probably will be starting with tap water. I'm just going to switch to RODI as soon as I can, just to keep the consistency up with the water. So water in the tank never changed. I have not done a single water change on this tank. I haven't pulled anything out. Whatever evaporates off, I top off. Bottom sand, shallow sand bed. Some people say a deep sand bed is good. I don't really see any problems with the deep sand bed if you set it up correctly and you do it correctly. I, however, am opting for a shallow sand bed because my nitrates are already zero. I don't need an additional nitrate reducer in a deep sand bed with the algae turf scrubber that takes care of it. So I have a shallow sand bed. In the display tank, I'll probably do about 3, maybe 4 inches tops, which I think is the limit for a shallow sand bed, and a coarse aggregate. I'm not looking for any fine sand. I think the best explanation I got from somebody was all the fine sand gets washed up onto the beach. It doesn't sit on the floor of the reef, which is kind of true, and in most areas except for silt-ridden areas that are that I've seen in videos. So, you know, but the course works really well. It helps promote the snails going onto the sand bed floor and cleaning the sand bed floor. And there's other different kinds of snails for that as well. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but that's what I have in there now is a coarse aragonite sand, and that's what I'm going to keep. Works really well for me. The other thing that I've got going on is a hood. Not normally something you want to do with even a freshwater aquarium, to have a hood on there. because it tends to restrict the amount of oxygen exchange or gas exchange that goes on at the top layer of the water, which is really important. But I've got a couple of things going on here that that help with that, and the hood, it was just an easy way for me to set up a light fixture and things like that. And I'll talk to you about that in a second. So one of the things I have going on for me, obviously, is I've got a large gap. You'll notice my water line right there between that and the top of the tank. That helps because there's a little bit more volume and area there for gas to come in and get exchanged with the top of the water. I did that on purpose. I don't see the point in a saltwater tank of filling to the top because the amount of water movement that you have in a saltwater tank might lend itself to splashing and things like that. And there's also another reason when you're running a sump that I'm going to keep the water level this low. I'll talk about that in my display tank. This tank also, I have this cover, and in this cover I've got two Coralife 50/50 bulbs, one actinic, they're half actinic, half 10K fluorescent bulbs. Those are the only bulbs I've ever used on this tank. Those are the original bulbs. They're doing really well. The salt has not gotten to them yet, thank God. That's one of the things I was worried about. And for water circulation, I am running a Aqua Clear 50 with nothing in it. It is strictly for water circulation. Of course, there's some sponges and such that are actually growing in there, helping to filter out the water secondary. But I'm using this mainly for water movement, only water movement. There's no actual filters in here except the things that live in here. So let's talk about where the algae lives. So I've got a couple of different tufts of algae growing. I've got one tuft right here, which is in the heavy water movement area. This is the only one that's growing off of the rock. All my other rocks have no algae growing on them whatsoever. But this one right here grows really well. I do trim it a little bit every once in a while so it gets a chance to grow more. It's about due. But I don't try to remove it because it does a really good job of pulling out all the nitrates, phosphates, etc. Now over here is my dead spot in this back corner. Obviously I've got one over here where the water comes in. I've got the water coming in over here. It hits the glass, it comes around, but it pretty much dies over here. So you can see where I've got a good set of algae growth here and some cyanobacteria that's growing there and a ton of copepods that are in there eating it. I look at this two ways. Number one, I've got a ton of copepods now. Number two, they have something to eat, so they'll keep growing. The other thing that I noticed with this, and this is why I left this, is the more the algae grows, the more the cyanobacteria dies back. So it's kind of an interesting choice, but competition-wise, the algae will outcompete the cyanobacteria if you give them the opportunity. I found that just by observation that to be pretty interesting, and it sort of coincides with all the findings that people have with algae turf scrubbers in terms of cyano and algae levels dropping to basically zero in a tank once it's set up properly. My corals are doing really well. I bought some mushroom corals. I bought 2 mushroom corals. I now have 4 of varying sizes. My torch coral is doing really well. Pretty happy. I don't spot feed my torch coral. I was thinking about it, but since I clean everything and the water's fairly dirty, there's a lot of nutrients already in the water that can be captured. My Montipora is doing really well and is growing extremely well. It's probably 25% bigger than when I originally bought it. And I've got a lot of growth from my coral banded shrimp. No, I'm just kidding. I've got a lot of growth on the feather duster worms. As you can see, there's a lot of those little white squiggly lines there. Those are all feather duster worms that are growing on this rock along with all of the coral and algae. Go back to my original video and see how white these rocks were and how now, especially this one, the closest it is to the rock. I remember that was like the first spot I ever got. Now the top is almost completely covered. And interestingly enough, the rocks that are closest to the live rock are blacker than the other rocks. I've also got some green coral and algae growing in here, and it's growing a lot on the glass, so I have to invest in a scraper now. I finally got to that point. But overall, this tank is doing extremely well. I'm really happy with the way it's been run. And with the things that I've learned, how to make it a little bit better or how to do things a little bit differently, will be incorporated into that 150. So don't forget to check out the update on the 150. I'm uploading that as well. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Again, thanks new subscribers. I'll see you guys later with another video update on my freshwater tanks. See you.